Well, look at this for a beautiful spot. This is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful area. Spotless. The way wild areas should be. And I don't know if you can see down into that water, but it is so clear. Absolutely stunning. And I'm just here enjoying a cup of chai. Lovely boathouse over there, just obscured by the trees. Fish topping out in the centre. Really lovely. Such a peaceful spot. Superb. It's going to be a lovely, although the sun's not out, there's plenty of light up there. And it's just going to settle lovely. That's going to go pink up there. It's going to go beautiful. Just watching these fish feeding, see what they're feeding on. Little buzzers hatching. There's not a lot of natural fly life. There is midge. There's midge out. And it's probably dead midge that they're kind of nymphing on in the surface. That's what trout do when they just cruise the surface, slapping at the water. They're just basically gorging on dead chronomids and dead nymphs. Or buzzers as we call them, as fishermen. There's a fish just moving right there on the margins. Probably zoom in and you'll see the ring pulls it's making. It's in quite close to the edge. It's obviously just hoovering up what's down there. I'm going to see if I can spot it. I've got no Polaroids, a little glare in the water, but I'm good at spotting them. I've got an eagle eye. A lifetime of fishing. There's midge out because they're currently sucking the blood out of my cheeks. My rosy red cheeks. So they are. This is a great place. It really is, it's beautiful. And I will be going in here for a swim just after I do this video. I'll probably have a little dip last thing at night. Oyster catcher's singing, looking for its mate. I was quite surprised that I've not heard cuckoos for a couple of days. And in Ascent last week, all I heard was cuckoos. And that's the Northwest Highlands, and they do migrate and they do come in and land there, and it is kind of where they nest and stuff, because they bully the little birds, meadow pipits and stuff like that, into sitting on their eggs. They bully them into it, they force them to do it. They basically, they kind of mimic other birds, and although they're 10 times bigger, they fool these little birds and basically kick their eggs out the nest, lay their own eggs in the nest, and they force birds like meadow pipits and tawny pipits and, you know, little ground nesting birds. They force them into sitting in their eggs, which is absolutely absurd. But they've been getting away with it for millions of years, those cuckoos. I'm quite obsessed with cuckoos because, there's that trout just rose right there, 10 yards away. Those cuckoos are so secretive, and if you go near them, they're gone. They're like jays. They've got exceptional eyesight. They've got fantastic awareness of changes and movement and stuff like that, and they just don't like anybody near them, and they're gone. They appear, they bully little birds into cracking open their eggs, hatching their eggs and feeding them, right? Willow warblers, birds like that, grasshopper warblers, sedge warblers, and basically once they're fed up, you know, out of the nest and they're no longer juveniles, and they've got their flight feathers. They basically chase those little birds off ski, but they make those little birds feed them. They are the bullies of the avian world. I think they're one of the only birds that do that. Yeah, especially in the UK. You know, there was a time when it wasn't even believed. Early twitchers, early 18th century bird watchers were observing this bizarre behaviour and no one believed it until it was eventually documented on film. So there you go. The cuckoo. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's probably my favourite film of all time. That and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Although it's my favourite, I wouldn't say it's the best Western. I'd say the best Western probably has to be The Outlaw Josie Wales. It's an incredible film. Clint Eastwood's a phenomenal director. I do think, I'm not going to confirm it just yet, but there's possibly an otter over in that bay, working that bay. Not the little thing you see here, which is a little water rail, but away over in that bay, I'm pretty sure I've seen an otter coming up and down there. It's probably out of range for the camera, but I'm convinced it's an otter. On a place like this is a stank, which means it's not got an inflow and an outflow. It's literally rain catchment, so they call it a stank. It gets a special kind of status in Scotland, especially when it's a stocked venue. Artificially stocked, I mean with rainbow trout. Non-indigenous triploid rainbow trout. So this is actually a stank. I won't name it, because then you would know where I was. We can't have that, it's a secret. But it's an incredible little place. The water's like gin. And there's an abundance of wildlife and fowl on the water. And I do believe that there's an otter out there crossing the loch. Although I can't see it now, I'm convinced it was an otter, and I'm not normally wrong with wildlife. I know how otters behave, and they give themselves away. What I was going to say, we can... a moorhen in behind me. They give themselves away because they leave streams of bubbles on the surface, and when it's a stank like this, on the surface you get a film on the surface of these kind of places. It's called the meniscus, the surface film, and the bubbles basically stick in it and they can hang around for hours because there's a slight film. Even though it's gin clear, there's still a slight kind of film out there, and the otter bubbles just basically hang there. So you follow the streams, and that's how they give themselves away. When it's mink swimming underwater to escape a dog or man or predation, they don't actually stream under the water like otters. That's how you can tell the two apart. If you ever startle an otter, it will take to water immediately if it can, because that's its environment where it's at its best, and it will vanish. Unless you're very lucky, you won't see it again. They're phenomenal at hiding, and they can hide 6 feet away from you. You would step over them, you wouldn't even know they were there. They're masters at it, and they're masters of evasion and escape. They just disappear. There's the trout starting to rise now. Right there's a nice wee rise coming on here. For the non-fishing folk, it's the evening rise is starting. There's just a little bit of an increase in temperature at the end of the night at this time of year, and it's when all the wind drops and everything goes mild. There's been a bit of rain today, so it's just getting a little bit humid, and the flies hatch in abundance. There's midge, there'll be little gnats out there. There's maybe some olives hatching. There could be some canis hatching, which is little tiny white things. Looks like clouds of smoke. And they live for literally 30-40 seconds. They die off and they fall all over the water. They hatch out, fly away, and the little shucks they leave, little empty body shucks, well, that's what the trout hoover up. So that's what they're doing out there. They're definitely on the small stuff. I wish I had a fly rod in my hand. because I'd catch those fish with a little dry olive or a little CDC, something like that, a little suspender buzzer. You'd catch them. That was a nice cup of tea, by the way. Oh, lovely. Lovely cup of chai. There's plenty of trout in here. Might have a catch clean cook coming up shortly, guys. I'm going to walk around and observe that beautiful boathouse because there is no one fishing, so I wouldn't interfere. I wouldn't go over if someone was fishing because they've probably paid to fish or they're a member. But I'll find out, and there's a little sign, so I'll just send it a text message and I'll get permission to fish here. I don't mind paying when the fishing's good. What I do have an issue with, and I've always had an issue with, is laying claim to migratory salmon and sea trout in wild rivers. I've always had an issue with that. And it was always the sport of toffs in Scotland and England. And the common man could never get on these rivers. But surely a fish migrating from the sea, the common man had every right to such a fish. The same right as the noblemen and the wealth, the lairds, the landowners, you know, the lords, the dukes. I don't believe for a minute you can lay claim to a migratory fish that spends 3 or 4 years at sea and then decides to come and have a nosy up a river. I don't believe it. I've always had issue with that. And I suppose that's that little anti-establishment trait that I carry, which I am known for. I don't make any apologies for that trait. I've got every right to be suspicious of those in authority and those in power. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it one bit. Well, this is a beautiful spot. Silence is golden, and if I shut up long enough, a lot of this wildlife's going to come right over to me to see what I am. That's what happens when you know how to blend in. You just pick a spot, sit still, herons will land next to you, kingfishers, dippers, wagtails, and fish will swim right by you. Because when you blend in, you just become part of nature, don't you? It's a bit of a myth about bright clothing. Most animals see in shades of grey. They don't really see bright colours. Deer stalkers in America and Canada, they wear bright orange jackets and hats so that other shooters don't shoot them. Knowing fine well it doesn't spook the animals at all. So there's loads of myths. You know, loads and loads of myths in the wilds. Usually documented in books by people who have never been in the wild. They just had time to write a book and make it a bestseller, stealing other people's information. That's a fact. But what a night, guys. What a beautiful, beautiful night. Haven't seen an osprey today, but ospreys love this area. And when the water's gin clear like that is just now, the ospreys really love this area. So there you go. Well, I'm going to have a dip in here because it's too good not to. It's beautiful. What a lovely night. Never ever get bored of just watching water and listening to bird life. It's fantastic. Well, have a good evening all, and we will talk soon. Take it easy.